Hey, this is Jacob, and let me tell you, this story is the kind of thing you'd only expect to see in some ridiculous soap opera. But nope, it happened to me in all its chaotic glory. Started off as your typical Friday night. My wife, Madison, was getting ready for her usual girls' night out. She claimed it was all about bonding with her friends, and yeah, I believed her at first. But man, did things take a turn. Madison strutted out of the bedroom wearing this insanely tight black dress. You know, the kind that looks like it was painted on. I was surprised because, frankly, I hadn't seen her wear anything like that since our honeymoon. Wow, you look amazing, I said, trying to sound casual. Thanks, she said without even glancing at me, grabbing her purse like she was in a rush to get out. That stung a bit, but I told myself it was nothing. She had been distant for a while, but I chalked it up to her being stressed or tired from work. As she headed out the door, I settled into my usual Friday night routine, grabbing a cold beer, sinking into the couch, and pretending to enjoy some mindless action movie. But the movie wasn't holding my attention. My gut was nagging at me. Something about tonight felt off. Around midnight, I started getting a little worried. Madison usually came home by then, maybe a little tipsy but always apologetic for staying out so late. This time, nothing. No call, no text, no smoke signals. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. My stomach churned with unease, but I told myself not to overthink it. Fast forward to 6 a.m. That is right. 6 in the morning. I heard her car pulling into the driveway. I stayed on the couch, pretending to scroll through my phone, even though my heart was racing. What the hell was I about to see? The door creaked open and in walked Madison. But not in that black dress she left in. Nope. She was wearing some random pair of leggings and an oversized hoodie that looked suspiciously like it belonged to another man. Her makeup was smudged like she had been in a fight with a raccoon, and her hair looked like she had been caught in a tornado. Then there was the smell, an unholy mixture of sweat, alcohol, cheap cologne, and, yeah, you can guess the rest. Morning, she mumbled, dropping her purse on the counter like nothing was wrong. Morning, I shot back. You changed clothes. She looked down at herself like she had just noticed. Oh yeah, I spilled something on my dress, she said, not even trying to meet my eyes. I stared at her, my voice low but steady. And you didn't think to text or call me all night. I was sitting here worried sick. Her shoulders tensed. Jacob, it was just a girls' night. Do I have to check in with you every 5 minutes now? I stood up, my fists clenched. You came home wearing someone else's clothes, reeking of cologne, and you want me to believe it was just a girls' night? Madison, do not insult my intelligence. Her face flushed, but instead of guilt, she had the nerve to look annoyed. If you're accusing me of something, just say it, she snapped. Fine, I said it. Did you sleep with someone tonight? Her eyes darted away, and there it was, confirmation. The hesitation, the guilt. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Jacob, you are being ridiculous, Madison hissed, but her voice was shaky, her usual confidence nowhere to be found. Your trust in me is so low that you jump to conclusions like this? I stepped closer, my chest tight with anger. Do not play the victim here, Madison. You changed clothes. You came back smelling like a damn cologne factory, and you want me to believe this is all in my head. She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. Instead, she crossed her arms and looked at the floor, her walls crumbling under the weight of silence. Finally, in the faintest whisper, she said, "It was just one time. It did not mean anything." I felt like the floor had disappeared under me. My vision blurred, and my hands started shaking. What? My voice cracked, the word barely audible. It did not mean anything, Jacob? She repeated, tears welling in her eyes now. It was just a stupid mistake. A mistake. That word rang in my ears like a bad joke. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. A mistake is locking your keys in the car. This was a choice, Madison. You chose to destroy us. She broke into sobs, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch me. Please, Jacob, you have to understand. I only did it because I felt invisible. They told me. Wait. I cut her off, my voice rising. Who told you? Who the hell convinced you this was a good idea? Her sobs turned into a pitiful wail as she choked out. My friends. They said it would teach you a lesson. That you would appreciate me more if you thought you could lose me. I actually laughed at that. This bitter, humorless laugh that echoed through the room. So, let me get this straight. Your genius friends, 2 single women and 2 divorced ones, thought this was a brilliant way to fix our marriage. They just wanted to help? She whispered, wiping at her tears. Help! I shouted, unable to contain the rage boiling inside me. Do you hear yourself? You threw away everything we built, and for what? To play some twisted game. Her sobs grew louder, but I did not care anymore. I felt like a part of me had died, right there in that living room. I stared at her, this woman I had loved for years, and all I felt was emptiness. I took a deep breath, trying to keep myself from screaming. The last thing I wanted was the neighbors getting an earful of my life falling apart. Madison, I said, my voice eerily calm, I need you to understand something. What you did. It is not just a mistake. It is not something we can just sweep under the rug and move on from. You tore this apart. She dropped to her knees like some melodramatic soap opera character, her mascara-streaked face looking up at me. Jacob, I love you. I was stupid. Okay? I thought if you felt jealous or scared, you would realize how much I mean to you. I took a step back, disgusted. Jealous? Scared? Do you even hear yourself? You do not manipulate someone you love. You do not gamble your marriage to prove a point. Her hands clutched at her chest, like she was trying to hold herself together. But I do love you. It was just physical. It did not mean anything. Oh, great, I said, throwing up my hands. So, that makes it okay? As long as it was just some meaningless hookup, it is all forgiven. She shook her head frantically. No, I just mean it was not about love. I love you, Jacob. You are the one I want to be with. I let out another bitter laugh. Do you even know how ridiculous you sound? You do not love me. If you did, we would not be standing here right now, having this conversation. For a moment, the room was silent, except for her sniffling. Then she crawled toward me, actually crawled like some cringeworthy scene in a bad romance movie. Jacob, please. Do not throw this away. We can fix this. We can go to therapy, talk to someone. Anything. I stared down at her, feeling like I was looking at a stranger. Madison, we are not fixing this. You broke something that cannot be put back together. She started sobbing again, but I was done. I grabbed my jacket and my keys, barely noticing the tears streaming down her face. Jacob, please, she begged as I opened the door. Please, do not leave. I paused, my hand on the doorknob, and looked back at her one last time. Madison, you taught me one thing tonight. I deserve better. With that, I walked out, closing the door softly behind me. No yelling, no slamming, just the quiet finality of it all. The cool morning air hit me as I stepped outside, but it did nothing to calm the storm raging inside me. I sat in my car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The reality of what had just happened was sinking in, and it felt like a weight pressing down on my chest. I started the engine and drove aimlessly through the empty streets, my thoughts racing. How the hell did we end up here? Was I really so blind that I missed the signs? Or had she just become that good at hiding the truth? After about an hour of driving, I found myself parked outside my best friend Nate's house. Nate was one of those no-nonsense guys who always told it like it was, and right now, I needed someone to slap me with some brutal honesty. I knocked on his door, and after a few moments, he opened it, squinting at me in confusion. Jacob? Dude, it's like 7 in the morning. What the hell are you doing here? I pushed past him into the house, collapsing onto his couch. Nate, she cheated. Madison cheated on me. That woke him up. He sat down in the recliner across from me, rubbing his face like he was trying to process what I had just said. Wait, what? Madison, are you serious? I nodded, running my hands through my hair. She came home at 6 in the morning wearing another guy's clothes, smelling like a damn nightclub. And then she admitted it. She said it was just one time, but one time, Nate interrupted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Yeah, because that makes it so much better. I laughed bitterly. Right? And get this. She said she did it to teach me a lesson. Nate let out a low whistle, shaking his head. Man, that is some next-level insanity. So, what are you going to do? I told her I'm done, I said, leaning back against the couch. I walked out. I am filing for divorce first thing Monday morning. Nate nodded slowly. Good. You deserve better than this crap, Jacob. And honestly, screw her friends too. They sound like a pack of vultures. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of the situation settling over us. Nate eventually got up and grabbed a couple of beers from the fridge, even though it was still early. Screw it, he said, handing me one. You are going to need this. I took the beer, the cold bottle feeling foreign in my hand at that hour. I had not even realized how thirsty I was until I took the first sip. Thanks, Nate. I do not know what the hell I am going to do, but I know I cannot stay with her. Nate leaned back in his chair, the corners of his mouth twitching like he was holding back some cutting remark. Jacob, you are already doing it. You walked away. That takes guts, man. Most people would stick around, hoping things magically get better. I nodded, staring into the amber liquid in my bottle. I just do not get it. How do you destroy something like this? Something we spent years building. Because some people, Nate said, his voice hard, do not appreciate what they have until it is gone. And some people are just selfish assholes. That actually made me laugh, a short, bitter laugh, but a laugh nonetheless. You have a way with words, you know that? Hey, I am here to help, Nate said with a shrug. Speaking of which, you can crash here as long as you need. No pressure. I appreciated the offer, but the thought of imposing on Nate's life, even for a few days, made me uncomfortable. Thanks, man. But I will figure something out. Maybe a motel or something. Nate gave me a long, skeptical look but did not push. Instead, he reached for the remote and turned on the TV. You need a distraction. Let's see what kind of garbage daytime TV has to offer. We ended up watching some ridiculous cooking competition show where contestants had to make desserts out of canned tuna and hot sauce. For a moment, I actually forgot about the mess that was my life and just enjoyed the absurdity of it all. But reality crept back in like it always does. As the hours dragged on, I decided it was time to start figuring out my next steps. Nate, I appreciate the distraction, but I need to get my head straight. There is so much to deal with, and I do not even know where to start. Nate muted the TV and turned to face me, his expression serious. All right, let us break it down. First things first, you need to find a place to stay. A motel is fine for now, but long-term, you are going to need something more stable. I nodded. Yeah, and I need to talk to a lawyer. I want this divorce done fast. Clean break. Good call, Nate said. Do not drag it out. And Jacob? Protect yourself. If she tries to spin this like you are the bad guy, you need to be ready. That thought had not even crossed my mind, but it sent a chill down my spine. Madison was good at playing the victim, and I would not put it past her to twist the story to her advantage. You are right. I will get all my ducks in a row. Before leaving Nate's house, I made a few calls, one to book a motel room and another to set up a consultation with a divorce attorney. Both felt like huge steps, but they also felt right. I needed to take control of the situation before it spiraled any further. By the time I checked into the motel that evening, I was exhausted. The room was nothing fancy. A small bed, a worn-out chair, and a TV that looked like it belonged in the early 2000s. But it was quiet, and for the first time in 24 hours, I felt like I could breathe. I collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind kept replaying everything Madison had said. Every excuse, every plea. It was like a broken record I could not turn off. I wanted to hate her, but all I felt was emptiness. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I had barely slept. The thin motel walls did nothing to block out the noise of the highway traffic or the arguing couple next door. Still, I forced myself out of bed and into the shower. The cold water hit me like a slap in the face, and for a moment, I felt awake, like I was finally stepping out of the fog of the last 24 hours. By noon, I was sitting across from the divorce attorney. Her name was Rachel Daniels, and she was all business. Jacob, I am going to be honest with you. This is going to hurt emotionally and financially. But if you want to move on, we need to act quickly and decisively. I nodded, trying to keep my emotions in check. I just want it over with. No drama, no drawn-out fights. I want my life back. Rachel gave me a small, sympathetic smile. That is the right attitude. Now, let us talk assets, debts, and any evidence you might have. Evidence. The word sent a jolt through me. I remembered Madison's confession, her tear-streaked face as she begged me to stay. I had not recorded it, and there were no texts or photos to back up my claims. It was just my word against hers. I do not have much, I admitted. Just what she told me. Rachel sighed. That is a start, but we will need more if things get messy. For now, let us focus on filing and getting you out of this as cleanly as possible. By the time I left her office, I felt like I had taken another step forward. It was not much, but it was something. As I walked back to my car, I glanced at my phone and saw a missed call from Madison. No voicemail, just a notification. I deleted it without a second thought. That night, as I sat alone in my motel room, I realized something. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not happy, not healed, but free. And that was a start.